Aloha. Aloha kakahi kaka ko. Mahalo for joining us for Hawaii Care Choices Healthcare Talk Story. I'm Tish Lopez, your moderator this morning. Happy, beautiful Aloha Monday. Just a friendly reminder, today's talk story is being recorded so that you and others may access it in the future. All presentations are available on our YouTube channel simply by searching Hawaii Care Choices. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So please follow us to see lots of content, upcoming events, reminders for Talk Story, get to know our team and our supportive community members, and also hear our patient stories. If you are following us, please send Lonnie and I your comments, a heart or a shaka. We would love to connect with you. For those of you joining us on Zoom, the bottom of your screen should look like this. Please follow that green arrow and click on the chat box to say aloha and let us know where you are joining in from. Today's healthcare talk story, we're changing things up a little bit for the summer season and focusing on community well-being and safety. Our guest speaker this morning will give us a front row seat of what's happening behind the scenes at the highest level in the state, next to the governor, before, during, and after the natural disaster. So finding out what factors in the world worsen these impacts and what you can do to improvement. With community well-being and safety in mind, learn how we can be better prepared to minimize the negative impacts on our lives and our property. So anytime during the presentation, you may ask questions following that purple arrow, clicking on the Q&A box at any time to submit your questions to our panelists. For those of you joining us on Facebook Live, thank you and aloha. Welcome. Please use your comment box to say aloha to everyone and let us know where you're joining in from. Feel free to chat in questions as well as share your reactions with us during this talk story by using those reaction buttons. Use the heart, the thumbs up, the care button, or feel free to share this live video with your friends. At this time, I would love to introduce you to our presenters today. First, I would like to introduce Lonnie Weigert, who is striving to raise the awareness about palliative, hospice, and bereavement care in hopes to provide world-class healthcare choices and solutions for all. Please welcome Lonnie Weigert. Aloha, Lonnie.
Aloha, Tish. Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Our special guest is retired Colonel James D.S. Barros, who assumed the post of administrator for the Hawai'i Emergency Management Agency, or Hi-EMA, on February 1st, 2023. Barros returned to state services from Booz Allen Hamilton, where he worked as its senior exercise planner with 25th Infantry Division. Prior to that, he was an emergency management staff officer with the City and County of Honolulu Department of Emergency Management. Barros recently retired for the Hawaii Army National Guard after a 32-year career with 22 years in active service. Barros was the chief and joint staff for the Hawaii National Guard's COVID-19 task force. That force, which is more than 1,300 strong, was established to support the state's preparation and response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are so excited to have him on. Aloha, Administrator Barros.
Aloha from Hi-EMA.
We are so excited you joined us today and that you have taken your time out of your busy schedule to join us. I'm going to go ahead and take down my presentation, so feel free to go ahead and share your screen, and we are excited to hear about all of the things that you guys are doing. Friends, while Administrator Barros is getting his slides ready, I just want to let everyone know, again, to kick things off for this summer season, we're taking a little different turn here on Healthcare Talk Story as we focus on community well-being and safety. Administrator Barros will share details about Hawai'i Emergency Management Agency, or Hi-EMA, and share how they help Hawaii's ohana prepare for and how they respond to disaster and emergencies. I am so excited you joined today. Please give a warm virtual welcome for Administrator Barros.
Aloha from, I'm sitting right in the middle of this crater that you see on your screen. Our headquarters is in Berkheimer Bunker, 1917, built during the wars. It was part of the overall coastal defense during World War II. So it's a very historic place. And I'm standing in my office in this, like I said, historic place. We used to be Hawaii Civil Defense, and that's kind of the old thoughts behind, we were the sirens and attacks. That's what we're about. As we move into this modern era of emergency management, so now we're the Emergency Management Agency. Let me. Yeah. So our mission really is to be able to respond to a disaster, but part of it is in the beginning, how do we prepare and how do we build resiliency into our state so that our response is not so immense and our recovery is faster. So there's a whole cycle that we look at: resiliency, our ability to respond immediately, and then work into a recovery to go back and then build resiliency from what we learned from a certain disaster. So that's that mitigation piece: preparedness, mitigation, response, recovery. So one of the big things that we're talking about now is resiliency. How do we strengthen communities? How do we strengthen our homes? Because we build resiliency in our homes, and we're really working with FEMA so that we can identify how we can build resiliency into our communities.
Administrator Barros, I'm sorry to pause.
No.
Would you be able to make your slide just a little bit bigger using the presentation view?
On mine, it looks like a full screen. Oh, over here? Wait,
yes.
Let me try that. Did it work?
That.
No.
Let's see. Not quite, not just yet on our side.
Oh, so you on the screen, you just see the little.
Yes. So I think if you're sharing with two screens, we'll have to just choose the larger one. I apologize.
No. Should I? What do you need me to do on my end?
We can go ahead and click out of the screen sharing and then go right back into it.
Click out of screen sharing. Oh, you want me to share this one? Share.
There we go. That's the one.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So our department here it is. Okay. So our department, our agency falls under the Department of Defense. So the Adjutant General, Ken Hara, he's the director for emergency management, but he also has all these other agencies and the Air and Army National Guard under him. So I'm responsible for just the Emergency Management Agency part of it, whereas General Hara has everything else. And we, work for the governor. So one thing about Governor Green, he's very much involved and proactive in emergency management. You saw his involvement during COVID. So he sees this as a very, very important aspect of the state. And I'll break down my agency a little bit. So in my agency, I have 5 branches, and I'll talk about them a little bit. And then what we do a lot is coordinate with the counties. So we're integrated in how we support the counties. In Hi-EMA, we'll have an operations branch that does planning and our response. We have logistics branch, and they'll be responsible for supporting all the responses and the recovery efforts. I spoke about the resiliency. That branch is help. She has 2 sides. One is how do we build that resiliency? How do we identify the threats and vulnerabilities? And then what can we do to strengthen shorelines, the hospitals. We're looking at community hubs. So we're looking at that. The other aspect that she has in resilience, in the resilient branch, is all the disasters will come. We get a declaration from the governor, a declaration from the president. There'll be monies that come down to help us recover. And that's a big aspect of FEMA's role with us. And then, of course, we have admin and finance, and then external affairs, who's really linked in with the governor's public affairs officers and across the state network of these public affairs officers. So there's a big team of people that want to make sure that when something happens, the governor can get his message out, that we can push things out on TV, radio, social media, that here's what we're doing. Here's what we're addressing, and we get that message out to people that if we need you to stay home, wait. So that's a big effort too. And then on the bottom, you can see the county administrators. So every county has emergency management department. Island of Hawaii has civil defense, because if they change their name, then they're Hi-EMA, and we cannot have Hi-EMA 1, Hi-EMA 2. So they kept Hawaii Civil Defense. So one of the questions was, how do we link with them? We are in a support role to the counties. The response efforts will be at the county level, and we will bring into the fight state assets. So for Hawaii County, the Hawaii Fire will be part of that response, and then we can bring state efforts for like National Guard. The other one that we'll link to is our active duty folks here in the state, who will be part of that massive response when we're moving forward. And we get that assets through FEMA. So FEMA is our link with everything federal. FEMA links to us, and we link back down to the counties. So we're pretty much with the 5 county administrators and myself, we're on a group text. We're constantly having meetings, talking about the challenges that they may have, and we learn from each other across the state. So it's a good working relationship with all 4 of them. And in fact, when the volcano erupted last week, I immediately text Talmadge, hey, got it, it's in the crater, you guys, any state assets you need, everything coming up. His response to me, no, it's in the crater, no rift zone action, just enjoy the show. So we're constantly in communication with the counties. So there was a question about El Nino. So this is what we were in for the longest, for about 3 years, I think. La Nina. So it's a cooler pattern, and you can see in the red box, that's Hawaii. So everybody's tracking. We're coming out of the La Nina, and we're going into El Nino. So it's a warming of the ocean waters, and what that does is it feeds hurricanes. So in a cooler waters, you don't have in fact, last year we had 1 hurricane in our area because of the cooling waters. With this warming of the ocean temperature and the waters that lead up to us. So you can see we're in the red box, and this warmer water is at the equator. And it's kind of interesting, I want to point out, is that in high school, I was not the science guy. I hated science. All of a sudden now I'm studying volcanoes, I'm studying weather patterns, El Nino. I thought El Nino was something you got at the Mexican restaurant, but no, I'm jumping in and I'm all about the science and talking to the scientists. Um, so as that at the equator, the water is warming. Um, we see that pattern happening. And in fact, a couple months ago, they said we may get into it. The scientists weren't too sure. Then they said, "No, we're in it. We're in it." And I asked the question 2 weeks ago or a week ago, hey, how long will we be in this El Nino? Is it, just this summer, and then we can, the scientists think we'll be in this pattern for 2 years. So it's starting to warm uh, a little south of the equator, but it's moving north. So we think the next 2 years is really a dangerous period for Hawaii as far as hurricanes because of the weather patterns. And then someone asked a question about, how do we know when things, how do we notify the public? Well, we have in the state of Hawaii, we have over 400 sirens from Kauai all the way down to Hawaii Island. And we test the sirens, right? You guys, once a month, first of the month, we test the sirens. A lot of technical things going on with the sirens too, but our modern sirens are solar powered. Um, we ping them with a signal, it pings us back, and um, the sirens are a big part. In fact, when I took over in February, my first thought was, hey, sirens are antiquated. Why are we still doing sirens? Can we do away with this program? It's a kind of expensive program, and manpower wise, it's a tough program to keep running. But when we sat down and I started learning more, I was like, oh my goodness, I am completely off my rocker. The sirens are a vital piece of Hawaii's notification system. And what I learned is the communities appreciate the siren. Where there's a siren in a tsunami zone, when the siren doesn't work on the first, our phones go off. We get called. We know, hey, uncle called us. He lives 2 blocks from the siren, and it didn't work. We're trying to figure out what's wrong with that particular siren. So it's the community likes the sirens, and of course the other one is the cell phones. That one you can go for the counties. You have to sign into their notification program, so it's not something automatic. But the emergency alert system is an automatic system. That one, when something big is happening, you'll get that one right away. And that's the one, when you're watching TV, because even I get irritated every time I'm trying to watch TV and this emergency alert system comes on and you hear that computer voice. I'm trying to watch TV. Why are you putting this test on? So, but that's our system that we have. And like I mentioned earlier, every county, because we're so we're linking with the counties, every county can independently activate their sirens, or we do it here at the state warning point. And a lot of times it'll be a communication between the county and the state on exactly, okay, what areas do we want to turn the sirens on. So that's kind of the notification. What I really recommend signing into the county's alert system, because then the counties will push out these alerts. And then I kind of mentioned this. You can see in 2022 we had one, and as you look back, you can see that active period of 2015. We're in El Nino, so the weather conditions, the scientists are telling the weather conditions are kind of primed for a little more active. Let me show you the next slide. This was their the National Weather Service. This was their hurricane forecast. maybe a little above normal because of the weather conditions. So they say 4 to 7. We could see a little more than 7. And what that is every time it crosses a 140 north-south line, that's when we're saying it's in our area of operation. We start tracking it immediately, and they're saying we should see tropical storm, hurricanes forming, and we should track at least 7, if not more, this season. And we're like I said, it's concerning. Right now, with the weather conditions, I'm concerned about this summer. I'm really concerned about next summer, as that it gets a little warmer and it moves north. That's concerning. Anyway, this is we anticipate an exciting hurricane season, as far as, and that doesn't mean they think it's going to get close to us or is just forming in the area and moving. And a lot of times there's a weather system that's above us, a pressure system above us, that kind of keeps the hurricane as a track. It pushes south, or sometimes it pulls it north, and we just kind of it's going around us a lot of times, and that's what we like. We like that. That's fine. There was a question about our hazards, our threats, our vulnerabilities. So we do this as a state every year. We look at what kind of hazards are we facing as a state, and you can see along the line, where it's tsunamis, hurricanes, volcano. So these are what we identify in the state, and we work towards how do we mitigate these. So when we look at, for example, earthquake, how can we mitigate for earthquake? Well, our building codes can address those aspects, and we can build around that as we look at building codes. Flooding, the same thing. There's steps that we can take to mitigate any of these the hazards here. So you can see the natural hazards, and then of course we have some man-made cyber threat. At the very bottom, you can see is pretty high. There's a lot of cyber activity, and because of where we're located and who's located with us, as far as our military for the United States, we don't protect the military, but they rely on a lot of our infrastructure to be able to do their mission. So we got to ensure that our infrastructure is strengthened, and we work with them on some of that, ensuring some of that's done. But if I can use federal money to strengthen certain aspects of our infrastructure that allows U.S. Indo-PACOM to do their job, then I'm using federal money because we're strengthening it for the citizens of Hawaii at the same time. So that's a benefit that we try to leverage the federal funds a lot. So that's really the hazards that we identified. And like I said, we go back to this every year, and hey, what are we doing as far as mitigation? Is there other threats down the horizon? So we constantly take a look at this and evaluate that.
Administrator Barros, there was a
Yep.
question that came in about the graph of the weather, back from early 2000s to now. There was a noticeable spike in 2016. Could you explain just what happened in that year that made it spike so high?
That was the we're in that El Nino pattern, and it's you can see when you look at that, it started to climb up a little bit as the surface of the ocean is warming,
Mhm.
And the longer we're in this pattern, the more dangerous it is.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining
Okay.
that.
Okay. No problem. So when we get and we look at the hurricanes, uh, we've been I think the last one that we really worried about was Lane, that came close. Douglas came close to the north of us, but Lane was dangerous because it came to the south. It made that turn, and it was headed straight for the south side of Oahu. I mean, when we when we were tracking it, it was coming right up the south side where our airport is, where the harbor is, where the urban center of Hawaii is. So that was concerning. Um, and a lot of times it doesn't take a hit. You don't have to have the eye pass over you, where the eye is super dangerous, but it's that right quadrant of that wind as that hurricane moves. It's that right quadrant, that sweeping winds that uh, can devastate communities. Um, this this is part of the notification piece. Um, when we have various threats. So a hurricane, we have days to prepare, whereas a tsunami, we're going to have minutes or hours. So that's kind of when we're looking hurricanes. Okay, we're tracking it. We start going through our process. Um, Tsunamis, depending where it is, I could get 15 hours. I can get 5 hours. So it depends where the energy for that wave is coming from. A local tsunami that the scientists would say from the Big Island, we would have minutes for Hilo, minutes to the rest of the state. And then the drought, National Weather Service, they also told us, hey, we'll probably go back into a drought season this next summer. They say during the hurricane not prediction. But when we went there for the National Weather Service, that was one of the first things they said, hey, we're looking at going back into this kind of drought period. It'll be a very dry summer. So we can start to, get ahead of it and start to think about, okay, what do I need to do? Because then now with the drought, we get into that wildfires. Everything's so dry. And I've noticed that here at Diamond Head, back in February, it was nice and green. It was beautiful. And it's now June and it's drying up. There's a huge difference. So they're telling us we'll go back into this drought period. Um, so preparedness steps, what I keep telling people is, understand the hazards in your area. So you take your property and you look at your property. Uh, is it prone to flood? Where would the water come from? So my house behind us, there's a hill. We know water is going to be flowing down off of that hill. So where can I channel it? Know the hazards. There's Our house also has a big glass front. A lot of the houses in Hawaii, we like that big glass front living room, these huge glass. Um, that's a hazard. So what can I do to strengthen that? I can buy some storm shutters. We can, right now we're trying to prefab some wood so that all I got to do is put it up, um, pound it in, and then I'm good. I remember back when I was when I was a kid too. For some reason, we thought we just put X with the masking tape and was good. Now I'm thinking about it, going, what was that gonna do? Because the storm winds will pick things up and just start flying them around. So that's the other thing. You look in your garage. What do I need to secure? What about this patio furniture? And then where do I store it? So kind of understand your neighborhood. I mean, your house and your property and everything on it, and then start to take a look around your property. Understand your neighborhood. Are there trees that's going to come down that will block evacuations? Is there power lines? Is there telephone poles? So that I was telling one of the meetings too, is like, when I drive around, I don't see beautiful trees and power, all these lines that go. I see debris. I see down power lines. I see blocked roads. So you got to take that perspective from your property, from where you are, and then kind of just build around that. Okay, if I got to evacuate, can I get out of this road? Yeah. Okay, good. I don't see anything blocking that. And then where do I go to? Can I get there safely? Like I mentioned earlier, each county has their own alert system. So sign up for your alert system, because that'll let you know. Hawaii County has an amazing website. Check their Hawaii Civil Defense website, because they have a public facing map also that they update when there's an event. They'll update it. You can see where the roads are closed. You can see what warnings are out there, what shelters are open. So they put that on their website. So when we had the Kona lows, I went straight to their website, so I didn't have to keep calling Talmadge. Hey, what road is closed? You just open a map and bang, it's right there. And it's public facing, so anybody can get on it. Uh, for your family plan, really look at every aspect of it. We talk about, and I'm sure it's in one of the slides, 14 days of supply, food and water, the medicine, pet food, but also look at the your power issue and your communication issue. Um, we anticipate power being out for a little while. Guam is recovering right now. They're in their recovery phase. The island is about, I think this weekend they were at about 50% restoration of power for the island. So power will be a one that we'll work hard at. We'll constantly be working at it, but it'll be a time-consuming effort. So think about that. I I have a portable solar charging battery pack, so I can use that. Charge the battery pack with solar, and I can plug other devices up to it. But the communication piece also will go down for a little bit. We anticipate that the communications will be spotty until we can get the systems back up. So have that kind of communication plan back with your family too. Early on, my family plan is, we're gonna reach out to our relatives in Seattle, and that'll be kind of the belly button for the family. The Seattle family, our cousins there, we reach out to them pre-impact. When something happens, we reach out to them again as soon as possible. We reach out to them so they can tell people, hey, you know what, Barros is good. He called us. So I'm not calling everybody. I'm calling one cousin, and then she can let everybody else know. And then when I call her, she can tell me if my family in Wahiawa checked in yet. So kind of think about that communication plan, but understand that the communication will be slowly coming back up too. And when I do presentations to, I say I don't want to be the doomsday guy. That's not what I want to be. But I want to be the guy that says, hey, think about every aspect of this threat, this hurricane, this tsunami, this cyber attack that blocks our power. Something goes down, our banking system. So every day we're looking at some aspect of our state and how what the threats are and how can I build resiliency. And I think one of the big things is building resiliency is in our individual our families, our homes, and then our communities. As I build the resiliency in my house, I can go outside, I look down the street, is, oh, 3 houses down, auntie lives by herself, guarantee she gonna need help. Okay, we know. 3 houses down, oh yeah, the boy play football. He's on the varsity team. That's the guy we're gonna help to open up, and we'll get him. Hey, make sure you check on Auntie over there because she's gonna need help. We might have to help her block her windows or something. So know that immediate community. That's where we're gonna get the resiliency. Emergency kit. I kind of talked about that. The other one is, I tell people to get that plastic bag and put the important documents that you need in there. Your banking, your insurance, birth certificates. Put that in a little baggie, seal it, and then it's water resistant. The second point there, we tell people pull your insurance out, check with your agent, make sure that your house is insured for the vulnerabilities, the threats that face us. What, and they have the FEMA flood zone, so just double check your insurance. And then the resiliency at the last point there, the resiliency in the structure itself. There's hurricane clips, the shutters I mentioned. We put a lot of money in retrofitting various structures as a shelter. To look at where the shelters are in your area. We did a aerial tour of the West Coast on Oahu, and what I told the guy in the helicopter was, what I'm noticing is I don't see a lot of hardened buildings that people can evacuate to. So you got to look at the area that you're in, and okay, where's the hardened buildings? Where can I really take shelter from a storm that will be bringing some devastating winds? So there was a question about we 2018, I think it was 2018, we had the false missile alert. I can tell you we changed our procedures here. So we will take all our leads from US Indo-PACOM. They have the lead for missile defense with SpaceCom, with NorthCom. So that is very, very much in the military's lane, and they will let us know what they need from the state. And I just wanted to share this slide because everybody was getting during the 2018 was all about Korea testing, and they can reach us, and the military has very smart people working this. They are tracking North Korea's capability. So one of my friends in 18 was living in Hilo when we had that, and he called me. He's like, "Oh, oh my God, what's going on? What? I was like, uh, from my perspective was, but don't worry about it. That's it's not an issue for you right now. Uh, because one, the technology to hit a little island in the middle of the Pacific, that's they're not there. They don't have that technology. They cannot accurately pinpoint us, and they're not going to pinpoint Hilo. If they have the technology, it ain't gonna be Hilo that they're targeting. It's gonna be the people on the wall. And we know exactly what they're gonna target and where. I'm telling my family, because we live IAEA, is a we need to be concerned, not my friend in Hilo. So I just put this up there um, to let everybody know that the military is tracking. They know what's being launched. They know every time there's a test, they are tracking, and they will let us know immediately what they need from us. So that's why I share this slide. Uh, During COVID, it was a very interesting response throughout the state. What um, for me, one of the lessons learned from COVID was our communities will step up. It's our communities that will come together and take care of each other. And that's kind of the perspective that I'm coming into this job with is how do I empower those smaller communities and strengthen them, give them the resources that once they're isolated for a little while, like I mentioned before, power is down, trees are down, this community, this neighborhood is isolated for a little while. How can we empower them to rapidly respond, take care of each other, and then bring us back as a whole? So I really saw the power of the smaller communities throughout COVID. With the food distributions on the west side of Oahu, the food distributions in Hilo, in Kona, um, Maui's little hubs that they built, Kauai's response. So throughout the state, that's what I witnessed, and that's what I'm really working towards. How do we build that? But yeah, COVID was a good test, I think, for us. Um, the other thing somebody said, well, for hurricane, I can stay home for 10 days. I did it for COVID, which is true. You did. You stayed home for 10 days. However, during COVID, you had power. You was watching Netflix for 12 hours a day because the internet was up. Everything was working. The ports were open. We had food coming in. Everything was working. Now stay home with no lights. Now stay home with no more Netflix, no more Disney Channel. Now what? Now what do we do? So we gotta kind of get into that mindset too. That I'm gonna now, not to say that you're gonna be isolated or there's no way we cannot have people isolated for 10 days after a hurricane. That would be unacceptable in my opinion. And my opinion counts for a little bit because I'm going to be pushing people going open that road because there's people out there. But you got to be prepared for a few days, definitely a few days. So how do we strengthen that community so that they can be there for a few days and come together and survive as a community? So I kind of talked about this, right? Power, the water, the food. So one of my friends, he's just now. In fact, this weekend we're talking about his go bag and his plan. Oh my goodness, he lives in Palolo, and he's never thought about any of this. And I'm talking to him now this weekend. He's like, "Hey, you're making me scared." I'm not trying to make you scared. I'm trying to get you prepared. So he said, "Why I need water? We can drink tap water." I was like, "Dude, everything's connected. The power goes down, the water goes down because there's no pumping." He goes, "No, it's comes from the wells." Yeah, but we got to pump. You need electricity. You need power to push some of these pumps. So you we think of all that aspect of where you are and how long can you last, right? Because he the good thing is he recognized right away. He looked at his house as like, this house isn't standing. There's no way I got. So I told him, well, where are you gonna go? Well, you gotta know. You think about that. You go back. Where's your food? So power, food, and water. The water, it will be a big one too. So this is kind of our standard slide that in fact in my office I have my conference room, I have a big poster of this. Build your kit. Um, the the radio is a big one too, about battery powered radio. And then in one of the morning shows, uh, they said, "Hey, your kit got to be more than just spam." I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Spam is critical in a go bag." But what I told her is, okay, so you have the spam. I don't eat raw spam. So in my plan, I have a way to cook the spam because I like spam crispy. So I have that ability to cook something. If you buy, you have all canned foods. How are you gonna open your canned food? Oh, my can opener that's plugged into the wall. Okay, you don't have power. So now what? So that being able to open the food that you have. Oh, uh, and the radio is a big one too. I'm kind of really pushing the radio that you need a battery powered radio so you can turn it on so we can send the messages out that way, because the cell phone, like I said earlier, anticipate that going down for a little while. And then I told my friend too, I was like, "Hey, I have cash. There's an envelope with emergency cash in it, nothing bigger than a 20. And there's right now about $200 of cash, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s." Because my friend thinks he's in a modern world and he has Apple Pay and tap his credit card. It's like, again, my friend, it's not working. That systems are down for a little while. So how do I operate that way? So uh, we got to be prepared for that. I would we want to build it for 2 weeks. You want to be 2 weeks that, you know what, I don't need anybody for 2 weeks. I can handle. I got power. I got food. I got water. I got my medicine. My pets. I'm taking care of my pets. I'm good. And then everything starts coming back online, right? We start bringing the power back on. We cells back on. TV stations back on. Everything's back on. So a generator at home, I turn that on, and the generator I have is a solar generator. So I don't wanna depend on fuel that I gotta go run down. The other one is we have propane tanks to cook with. So all those little pieces, you put that together, and that's your plan for the 2 weeks. And I think that was my last slide.
Thank you so much, Administrator Barros. Before I get into it, where can we get these emergency preparedness posters?
The poster?
Yes.
You can reach out to us and we can help you with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Because we would definitely love to either pass it out to our community or just have it, for our organization too. I it's such a different way of thinking. And so, there's a few things that you mentioned. First, the spam. I mean, I totally had to laugh at the spam. It's like, yeah, that's a staple for us. But then it's the cook spam, right? There's no electricity. So where are you going to get it? How are you going to get it crispy and everything? How are you going to cook the rice? We got to make sure we have
Yes.
that, but it's thinking about no electricity, having cash. Um, your other comment about Netflix for 12 hours a day. I know I had to chuckle because I know that there were so many people like that. Thankfully, Hawaii Care Choices, we were working from home, but I know that that was the norm, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, what happens when there's no Netflix? I mean, gosh, you have to read a book,
Yeah.
So have that, definitely in your emergency preparedness. Another thing, you suggested a battery powered radio, and I know we have Amazon, and that's such a great place to go in our local stores. But do you have a specific place you suggest to purchase that radio to go in our kits?
I think I got mine at City Mill.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. No, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
We definitely, look, but that is very important because that's also a way that you can get different information, right? If
Yeah.
cars are not on because we're just staying home and hunkering down, we won't maybe not hear the emergency information that's coming across, our TVs or anything,
Yeah.
right? That's really important. I do have a few other questions that
Okay.
came out. Could you explain the difference between a cyclone and a hurricane? There was mention of the difference.
Cyclone, and part of it is where on the globe you're from. So typhoon, right? Guam has typhoons. So that's part of the naming convention too, right? We will have tropical storms and hurricanes. So it move and it goes by the wind speeds, right? So that's a tropical storm. I was trying to look for it, and I thought I had it up on the exact wind speeds, and I was going to share that. I don't know what I did with it.
No, that's okay. But it's good to know that we don't necessarily have to look out for the cyclone part. It's really the hurricane that we need to prepare for and what we have to look out
Yes.
and be on the lookout for, right? Be prepared for that. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. What emergency shelter equipment is in storage for those with disabilities, and how often are they maintained? For example, oxygen tanks.
We work with the Hawaii Healthcare Emergency Agency. So they are a critical partner with us and the hospitals, and they're a link between our local hospitals and our federal partners, and they're a coalition of medical providers, and they have a warehouse, and they also pushed out some containers to every island, so every island is represented. So that one would be a part of the coalition working that piece.
Okay, wonderful. That's so good to know. Like you said, there's many people that are involved in this and a lot of people that are connected. So it's so great to hear that. I want to just mention Charles Roberts, who's on the chat. He was saying cyclonic is a front or cyclonic versus frontal storm. So I just wanted to put that in there. Thank you so much, Robert, for adding that in, or excuse me, Charles, for adding that in. Another question is, earlier in the presentation, you mentioned about El Nino being or having more serious weather in the next 2 years. You showed the NOAA's projected outlook, but what would you say that would look like, and how should we be prepared?
So this year is 4 to 7. Their outlook is 4 to 7 systems in our neighborhood, and they're saying, there's a 50% chance that it'll be higher than 7. It's interesting working with the National Weather Service, because they told me, hey, we're right 2 out of 3 times, so kind of good odds. And when they talk about that cone of uncertainty that they're tracking to, they talk about left and right movement of the hurricane. But if it's 4 to 7 this year, and it'll be a little higher chance for it to be more, we can anticipate next year's prediction will be a little bit higher as far as systems that will track, and then probably the percentage of it being even higher than that, as far as number of systems that we track.
Okay.
And that that includes a tropical storm that we track for a little while and just fizzles out because it's too north or something. Yeah.
So, our community doesn't have to be too fearful that, 7 hurricanes may hit our island, but it's
Oh, no.
definitely a possibility that, you guys will.
No. Yeah. No, it's just the number that we're tracking. And then, the National Weather Service is very clear. They're not saying 4 to 7 hit the state. We're tracking 4 to 7. But we also say all it takes is one, and we don't need a big one, because one with hurricane winds, even tropical storm winds, can do some significant damage as it whips around and moves and throws things at houses and throws things at facilities.
Right, definitely. I would like to open up the mic to Lonnie, who is our host on here also. Lonnie, do you have any additional questions for Administrator Barros this morning?
Yes. Thank you so much. First, I wanted to know, where would one get a solar powered generator? Because I thought your comment with regard to, all of us running down there to go get gas, when all the roads are all blocked, that is so obvious, but yet, we're running on down there and buying a fuel generator. So, well, where would you suggest that people acquire the solar powered one?
So Honda has a solar powered one. At the I just saw some that was on sale at the NEX, the Navy Exchange. So there's places that have them. I haven't walked through. So I was going to take my friend City Mill this week, the one that we're building the kit for. So I was going to look at City Mill too to see if they had. But yeah, they're out there. The other one too is you could do a propane generator.
Oh,
So
yes.
there's some generators that will take the fuel and can do propane, and you switch it. Yeah, but the solar one, like I said, I just saw some on sale at NEX.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. My next question is largely because we're here on the Big Island, we have the volcano. So when do you folks actually go into some kind of action mode? Is it when the lava is coming out and approaching homes, or like at what rate do you determine whether you're jumping into action on this?
So 2018 was, I tell you, the scientists, they're amazing. I mean, they are just amazing, because they were watching the rift zone, the East Rift Zone that erupted in what was that neighborhood?
I believe it's Leilani Estates.
Leilani Estates. That one. They knew something was working in that rift zone, so they were tracking that rift zone maybe a couple of weeks prior to. So right now, the eruption right now is there's no anything happening outside of the crater itself.
Oh, okay.
So they're watching that. So it would be if they see movement in the rift zones and they're tracking magma moving through the rift, because then we know it's going to pop out outside somewhere. So for the 2018 one, everybody kind of stood ready to go. So at the time, I was still in the National Guard. We were prepping people to move there. The people down in Hilo, our soldiers in Hilo, they were standing up. We had, we knew how many trucks were available, and we could help evacuate if needed. So yeah, it depends on what the scientists are telling us that's happening.
Right. And again, it's so great to know that there's so many people that are looking out for us. So it's so great. As we go on about our lives, there are people that you are just watching out for us and our safety. So thank you so much for that. It is now 11:01. I just want to say thank you so much for our audience for listening in this morning for Healthcare Talk Story. Special mahalo, Administrator Barros, for all of your insights, the data, and all of the details that you shared with us today. We are so, so grateful. Just want to let everybody know on Facebook Live, please send us your hearts, your thumbs up, share this presentation with those that you feel will benefit from all of the informations that were shared today. Everyone's invited to our Healthcare Talk Story next month, the 10th at 10 o'clock. Administrator Barros, would you like to share any closing comments or tips for us this morning?
No, appreciate the time. We have some, what they call it, blue skies right now, beautiful day. So we have the time to prepare, to build the kits, to think about our plans. So let's really use this time wisely. And I appreciate you guys letting me speak for a little while.
Thank you so much. We are so honored to have you. Lonnie, any last comments for this morning?
No, that's it. I think you did such a wonderful job, Administrator Barros. Thank you again. We are so honored and feel very privileged that you were able to give us this time. And now we're just that much smarter as we continue on to go build our kits.
Yes.
So thank you so much for the motivation.
All right.
Yes.
Mahalo.
Aloha.
Aloha.
All right.
Aloha.
Aloha.
And